If you have a carry permit, the next few months could change what you can buy, what class you need, and what mistake could turn into a criminal charge. Pause. And the worst part is, this stuff does not always hit the news until after people get caught off guard. Quick question before we continue. Are you subscribed? Because what I'm about to reveal could save you from a life-changing legal mistake. Hit that button now, because permit holders who miss these updates are usually the last ones to find out when the rules changed. A lot of gun owners think a permit is like a shield. You get the card, you follow the basics, and you're good. But that is not how gun law works in real life. Your permit does not cancel out training rules. It does not override weapon bans. It does not protect you when one state changes the calendar and another state changes what counts as legal. So let me break this down for you in the simplest way possible. First thing, Massachusetts just raised the bar for firearm training. And this change matters way more than people think. Starting April 2nd, 2026, the basic safety course there has to include live fire training. That means you do not just sit in a classroom, watch slides, and go home with a paper certificate. You now need actual range time as part of the course. In plain English, you may have to physically fire a gun during training to meet the rule. Why does that matter to a permit holder? Because time, cost, and access just changed. If your local class used to be easy to book, that could get harder. If a range has limited space, you may wait longer. And if you are the kind of person who waits until the last minute to renew or finish a class, this is where trouble starts. Here's what most people get wrong. They think, I've owned guns for years. I already know how to shoot. This won't affect me. But the law does not care how experienced you feel. It cares whether you completed the exact training the state now requires. Imagine your permit renewal is coming up, and you assume your old type of class still works. You take the wrong course, send in your paperwork, and then find out the training does not qualify. Now your timeline is wrecked. Your permit process slows down, and in a state with strict gun rules, delays matter. Second, Massachusetts did not stop with live fire. The updated course now covers a bigger list of topics, and that means more chances for people to miss something important. Instructors now have to cover safe handling, storage, childproofing, state gun laws, how the gun works, suicide prevention, and use of force law, and even disengagement and conflict avoidance. That last part means avoiding trouble before it becomes deadly force. They also have to submit a written exam for approval. So yes, this is not just show up and listen anymore. There is now a stronger classroom side and a stronger testing side. Now, this is where it gets interesting. A lot of viewers hear training update and think that only affects first-time applicants, but that is not the full story. This kind of change can shape what counts for future renewals too. If you are moving, traveling, or helping a family member through the process, this matters even if you do not live in Massachusetts. Why? Because states copy each other. Once one state adds live fire, expanded curriculum, and a test, other states start looking at the same model. And here's the part nobody's talking about. More required topics means more places to make an honest mistake. Use of force is not the same as safe storage. Conflict avoidance is not the same as transportation law. Most people think being a good guy is enough, but the truth is the law expects you to know very specific rules. And those rules change faster than most people realize. If you're finding this helpful, imagine what you'll learn in my next video about the 5 words that protect you when cops ask about your gun. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Because legal mistakes usually happen when people are confident but not current. Third, Massachusetts has a renewal trap that could surprise people who already have a license. Here's what just happened. The state has said new and renewing applicants are affected by the April 2026 training change, and people who applied after August 1st, 2024 can get hit by the new course requirement when renewal time comes. Let me say that again in plain English. If you think I already got my license, so I'm grandfathered in forever, that is a dangerous assumption. This is one of those changes that sounds boring until it lands on your kitchen table. Your renewal notice shows up. You expect the old process. Then you find out your next step is tied to the new class, not the old one. That means more planning, more cost, and maybe more delay than you expected. And when people rush permit paperwork, they start skipping details. That is when records get messy and dates get confused. And legal exposure grows. Here's a hypothetical example to explain this. Let's say you got licensed during that August 2024 window, and now your renewal is coming. You put off checking the new rules because you assume nothing changed for you. Then the deadline gets close. You scramble for a class. The range is booked. The instructor list is limited. Your renewal timeline gets tight. That does not automatically make you a criminal, but it creates risk and stress and the kind of mistakes that can spiral fast. Now, quick legal note. This is educational information, not legal advice. Always consult an attorney for your specific situation. Fourth, Rhode Island has a major change coming on July 1st, 2026. And this one is the kind of law people misunderstand in a very dangerous way. Rhode Island signed a law that bans the manufacture, purchase, sale, or transfer of certain military-style weapons, including some semi-automatic rifles and shotguns. But here's the crazy part. Lawful owners can still keep the firearms they already lawfully own. So some people will hear not banned, while others hear totally banned. And both can walk away confused. What matters is this. If you're a permit holder, your permit does not cancel out this law. If a gun falls into the covered category, your carry permit does not magically let you buy it, sell it, or transfer it inside the state once the law takes effect. That is the mistake I want you to avoid. Let me give you a real-world scenario. You live in Rhode Island. You already own a covered firearm, and you think, I'm legal, so I can just sell it locally, later if I want. That is where people can get burned. The state says lawful owners may keep them, but there are limits on how to move them, like selling to a federally licensed dealer or to a lawful buyer outside the state. But do not assume that your normal in-state private sale plan still works after July 1st, and if you travel into Rhode Island. Do not act like your home state permit answers every question. It does not. A carry permit deals with carrying. It does not rewrite local rules about what firearms can be sold or transferred. Here's what most people get wrong. They mix up carry law with ownership law and transfer law. Those are not the same thing. Hey, 73% of people watching right now aren't subscribed. Don't be part of that group. Join the gun owners who want these updates. Before the deadline, not after the arrest story. Click subscribe and stay ahead of the next change. Fifth, Colorado has one of the biggest changes on this list, and this one could hit on August 1st, 2026. Colorado passed a law aimed at certain semi-automatic firearms. In simple terms, the law says that after that date, people generally cannot manufacture, distribute, transfer, sell, or purchase certain semi-automatic firearms unless they fall inside an exception. Now, before you tune out and say, I only care about concealed carry, wait. Because this can still affect permit holders. The law covers certain semi-automatic rifles, certain semi-automatic shotguns, and even some gas-operated semi-automatic handguns with detachable magazines. Not every model is covered, and the state is supposed to publish guidance. But the big picture is clear. If you buy, sell, or transfer guns in Colorado, you need to know whether your firearm is on the wrong side of that line. Here is where it gets even more interesting. Colorado built in a training path. A buyer may still be able to purchase a covered firearm if that person completes the required training route. But to even get into the course, the person has to get a firearms safety course eligibility card from a sheriff. Think of that as a gate you must pass before you can take the class that helps you qualify. So now we are talking about background checks. Fees, course records, course timing, and sheriff review. That is a lot more than walk into the store with my permit and buy what I want. And that is why this matters to permit holders. Many gun owners assume that if they are already licensed to carry, or if they already passed a background check before, they are basically pre-cleared. That is not how this law works. Here's a hypothetical example to explain this. Imagine you have a carry permit. You're a law-abiding person. You train often. You decide to buy a semi-automatic firearm in late August because you think your carry permit proves you are responsible. But the store tells you the gun falls under Colorado's new rule and you need the right training path and paperwork first. Now you're frustrated. Maybe you drive to another dealer. Maybe you trust bad advice from a friend. Maybe you think this law probably won't be enforced. That kind of thinking is exactly how people step into criminal exposure. And the penalties are not something to laugh off. A first violation can be a misdemeanor and repeat conduct can rise to a felony. That means the stakes are not just money and delay. We are talking about your record, your gun rights, and your future. But here's the bigger lesson. Laws do not only change by banning carry. Sometimes they change by adding process. A new card, a new class, a new deadline, a new list of covered guns. That is how regular people get trapped. Not because they meant harm, but because they thought last year's rules were still this year's rules. Urgent reminder before we wrap up. Laws move fast, and some of these timelines are already here while others hit later this year. Subscribe now because the next video explains exactly what documents, questions, and dates you should check before your next permit renewal, road trip, or gun purchase. So what is the real takeaway here? Your permit is not a lifetime pass, and it is definitely not a nationwide shield. In Massachusetts, training just got harder and more detailed. In Rhode Island, certain sales and transfers are about to get riskier. In Colorado, some semi-automatic purchases are coming, with a much bigger process. If this video saved you even one bad decision, do me one favor and subscribe right now. Not for me, for you, your family, and anyone who could get hurt by one outdated assumption. Because the truth is simple. Most gun owners do not get into trouble because they are reckless. They get into trouble because they were never told the rules changed. And one last simple disclaimer. I am not your lawyer, and this video is not legal advice. Laws change, facts matter, and your state may treat your situation differently. so always check current law and talk to a qualified attorney before you act. Thank you for staying informed and making sure you are protecting your rights with the correct information. Stay safe, keep training, and make sure to double-check those specific state deadlines before they expire. The landscape of carrying a firearm is shifting quickly, and being current is your best defense against legal trouble. Don't forget to share this with other permit holders who might be unaware of these upcoming changes in their area. We will see you in the next update where we cover the essential 5 words for police encounters. Until then, remain vigilant and ensure your certifications are up to date with the newest state standards. Final reminder to check the links in the description for more resources on specific state firearm legislation. Closing out this briefing on the newest permit and training requirements for 2024 and beyond. C. 2026 Script Scene Splitter AI GitHub.